Politics, corruption, etc.
Yes. I didn't know how. I wouldn't say there's a lack of comprehension in the comprehensiveness in the USADA test, but they're not bulletproof.
Yeah, it's not that they're not trying. It's like they only have so much. Well, I guess like who's interpreting that? Some people might say otherwise, but it is budget restricted, so you can only do so much testing on every fighter. And then sometimes their choice of who's being tested though is definitely a little bit iffy. Like there was the light heavy guy. I think it was Jiri or what's his name.
Yuri Prohaska?
Yeah, he was tested like
51 times.
Yeah, and then if you looked at like a Dillashaw, he was tested like 9 times or something, which is just like, why? Yeah.
Right. Why is he tested less?
Yeah, like some of the most premier
hot.
suspect guys were tested like single-digit times, and this other guy somehow has like half of USADA's fucking budget allocated to him. Like, I get that he was new in the actual sport, like he was coming from, I forget where he came from exactly.
Well, he was not new in MMA. He just wasn't fighting.
New to the UFC, right?
Yeah.
So the idea that some people have put out is they needed to establish more of a comprehensive passport on him quicker so that he had more elaborate testing off the jump than...
Look at that, though. That's so nuts.
Yeah, it was a really...
He's so much more tested than anyone else.
Yeah. It was like a wild disparity.
Wild. Rose Namajunas got tested more than Paulo Costa. That's crazy. Neil Magny got tested more than Paulo Costa. That is nuts.
And for Dillashaw only getting single-digit tests, it was like...
Yeah.
It just very much brought into question, like, were they hoping he'd have more leeway in order to not have, like give him the opportunity to actually have a good fight when he's coming back, sort of thing? Like, there's a lot of speculation, obviously. You couldn't say one way or another what actually is going on. And they're very tight-lipped about... Like, they don't reveal test results anymore like they used to. Back in the day, you could actually get, like, Jon Jones' fucking urine analysis and interpret it yourself and, like, see what's going on. Whereas now, it's like if a guy pops or whatever, like, it's very... You can't really get insight onto what their decision-making process is. Like, even when asked about Conor, they were very, very vague in their answer. It was very much just like, this is what the rule set is for getting in and out of the pool and the testing window that you need to be subject to in order to be qualified to fight again. And that's it. We're not going to speak on any individual fighter or what has happened with them or not happened with them, etc.
I blame you. I do. When you covered the Jon Jones situation, that was very illuminating to me. I was like, okay. And then you were talking about the test levels and the epitestosterone to testosterone ratio and how it was all off. And all of these points seem to indicate that someone who is supplementing with exogenous hormones.
Yeah, it was like a pretty comprehensive picture that is hard to dispute with all the evidence presented. Like you couldn't be like, oh, for fucking sure, but it's pretty hard to refute like what has been put in front of our face with the positive test results and all the other background context. Yeah,
and it's also a guy who, he's a wild dude.
Yeah.
He's doing a lot of wild shit. He's doing coke.
Yeah.
It's not like his body's a temple.
Yeah.
What
do you think about his comeback?
Interesting.
Yeah.
If anybody wanted to get bigger and get taken out of the pool, I would have thought John did it. I mean, that would be the move,
Yeah.
Get super saucy.
I wonder if he saw the situation and was like, fuck.
Yeah, probably. Because he's trying to come back naturally. But he's fucking big as shit now. He's like 255, 260 now. The question is, that's a lot of time off. But if Francis Ngannou versus Jon Jones is the big fight, well, Francis has had to take a lot of time off as well because Francis had a torn MCL and ACL, had to get surgery, reconstructed his leg, rehabilitated it, out for over a year. So that, to me, is very interesting. I like that fight because Francis has had a lot of time off, John's had a lot of time off, and, it's commensurate, at least close. I mean, obviously Francis has been more active recently, but at least that time off makes sense to me. And it's a very compelling fight. And I think Jon, his background, his resume does warrant an immediate shot at the title. He is absolutely one of the greatest fighters of all time. No ifs, ands, or buts. And him stepping up from light heavyweight, relinquishing the title, voluntarily saying, I'm done with this. I'm going to move up to heavyweight and be the heavyweight champ. And then building himself legitimately into a heavyweight and then documenting it all. Showing all the deadlifts, showing all the squats, showing... put on size and put on some body fat. That's compelling.
What do you foresee as, if it happened, what would be your prediction?
Well, the grappling of Jon Jones is very difficult to deal with. I mean, for a guy like Francis Ngannou, who was primarily a striker and was taken down on multiple occasions by Stipe Miocic and really dominated in their first fight, the question is, has Francis gotten better at grappling? Well, he definitely has, because he beat Cyril Gane with grappling. That was the fight that he fought with his blown out leg. And he fought Cyril Gane, who is a fucking phenomenal striker. I don't know if you saw Cyril Gane versus Tai Tuivasa.
Yeah.
Holy shit, is Cyril Gane good. He's so technical, so smooth, and his combinations are and Francis beat him with his grappling. So Francis's grappling, even with a fucked up leg, has gotten a lot better, but hasn't got to Jon Jones levels. That's the big question, because Jon took down Daniel Cormier, who's an Olympic wrestler. I mean, Jon's a fucking monster when it comes to grappling. And he's also just as tall as anybody in the heavyweight division, and he has a phenomenal understanding of distance. He's the very best at utilizing reach. But when he goes up, he's now fighting guys that are his height and his, and even bigger than him in Francis.
Yeah.
So how does he deal with that? How does he deal with a guy like Cyril Gane? How does he deal with these? It's interesting to find out. And I love the fact that, he really didn't want to do light heavyweight anymore. He's like, I'm done. I want a new challenge. I want to be a 2-division champion. But it's a long time. It's taken a long time.
How old is he now? Do you know?
I would imagine Jon's 35, 36 maybe.
What is peak fighter age? 35?
Around there. How old is he?
Yep, 35.
He's 35? I think peak fighter age is probably 30 to 34.
Okay.
If I had to guess. And below, obviously. Some elite fighters are 26, 27. But when it gets to championship level, there's one thing like prospects. It's very rare that someone is at championship level that young. That's why Jon was so amazing. Jon was the youngest ever UFC champion, and was as elite as anybody alive when he was 22 years old.